Hello, I'm Suzanne Franks, and I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at LanguageLine Solutions. And with me today is my colleague, Vanessa, the Managing Director of LanguageLine Solutions UK in Europe. And you might ask, why are Vanessa and I on tape chatting with each other? Well, the LanguageLine Women's Board approached us and asked us to talk about our careers and our aspirations into leadership roles in recognition of American Business Women's Day. And while Vanessa is very British, we believe that women's issues are universal. We got together with Rachel Taylor, who's the chair of LanguageLine Women, and Nicole Campo, a board member, to discuss topics that might resonate with our colleagues, both men and women, for this conversation. And 4 themes emerged. And the first theme is you need to negotiate with your partner and yourself. So Vanessa, can you talk a little bit about why that theme emerged when we had our initial conversation?
Sure. I think women play many roles in life and we're notorious for it. But I think the first role, if you really do want to be successful, is to make decisions about what you want. And if you are in a relationship, then that really does mean talking to your partner about what you want and what your aspirations are for your career and your future. And if you're not with a partner, then it's about being straight with yourself and really coming to a mindset that is about confidence and about direction and about focus. And unless you do those 2 things, then it's very, very hard to become a successful woman in business.
I wanted to be a leader in business. That was the role I wanted to play since I was a very little girl. And in order to do that, I had to make compromises. I had to compromise my love of creative writing and art. I had to compromise some of my social life with my friends. But that's what I wanted to do. So I negotiated not only with my partner, but with myself as to what I was willing to give up and not give up to realize the dreams that I had for myself.
Yeah, I mean, I felt very similar. And I think as you go through life and you go through the various stages in life, it's the same. If you have children, you have to negotiate with yourself and often with your kids and with your partner, whether you're going to make it on time to that school concert, to that volleyball match. Many a time I've skidded through the doors at the last minute and the doors have just been closing and I'm the last woman in the room. And it's because I've had an hour and a half commute each way to work. But you know what? That was my life and the kids kind of got used to it.
Yeah. And you really have to learn how to compartmentalize, right? So when you skid into the volleyball game or the horse show, you have to be present at that game at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, and the same thing when you then flip back to the meetings.
Yes.
You can't be thinking about your kids when you've got a transaction that you're trying to take. That compartmentalization, I think, is really critical. And it's something my father said to me when I was young. He said, if you want to be a success in anything, you have to learn when to leave stuff at the door and when to bring it into the room. And I think a lot of women aren't necessarily taught that, if I'm honest.
Yes, I agree with that. I think we should move on to theme 2. So theme 2 really is around women in business in leadership roles. And it's you need to want it badly. Can you comment on that?
Sure. Well, like you, Suzanne, I've always wanted it badly. Often, I think the word ambition these days, it's kind of become a dirty word. And I think it's a great word. If somebody said to me when I was younger, how ambitious are you to do something? I'd say, yep, I want it. I'm going to get it. And I'm going to do everything it takes. And I think we need to reframe words like ambition where women are concerned, because very often they're hesitant about using words like ambition and drive and the determination it takes to be successful, because it takes all of those things. And boy, do you have to want it badly, especially when you're tired.
Yes, I've always wanted it badly as well. When I was a kid, we ate well before my dad, before he got home from work. But when he got home from work, I sat down next to him and I asked him about his day. And I learned as much as I could. I didn't know why, but that's where my love of business really started, was by talking to my dad every night. But you talk about an interesting word, ambition. One of my women friends once said to me, she introduced me to another woman, and she said, "This is my friend Suzanne. She works like a man." And I didn't quite know what to do with that, right? I was like, well, yeah. I think that's a compliment. I'm not sure she meant it that way, but I think that's a compliment. And the word competitive comes into play as well. Yeah. And I've been told I'm very competitive. And again, I take that as a compliment. I'm not mean-spirited. I'm not impolite, but I want it bad. And I'm willing to do what has to get done to succeed.
Absolutely. I'm super competitive. I love being competitive in sport, in life, in business. It's a thrill. It's the buzz you get from success. It's when you win something, or at least if you lose, you did your best to win. And I think the other word that often gets misrepresented is being assertive. You know, women need to be assertive to be successful in life, not just in business. And I think building on those skills of confidence and being assertive as you grow through your career and pass it on to your own daughters if you have them, that's a real asset, not just for business, but for your entire family and for the women in your life. I think a lot of the dialogue and debate on both sides of the pond around feminism, around women in business, some of those debates do take a negative turn on men. You know, I've got a 26-year-old son. He's very pro-female. I've got lots of male friends who are very pro-women in business. If you like men and you have a real debate and a dialogue with them, and you make yourself heard, and you do it with a light heart and well-meaning and good intent, I don't think I've ever had a time in my life when A, I haven't been able to challenge the status quo, and B, men haven't listened to me. We do have to play our own role in that dialogue. And I think liking men is a big part of that role.
I totally agree with that. And it gets back to having the confidence in yourself. If you're confident in yourself, liking men, liking everybody is not an issue because you're confident within yourself.
You think somebody's not, you know, if you don't like them or if you think they're the enemy, then all your behaviors start to formulate and create that truth. And I'm a great believer in the psychology of not creating your own gremlins. There are brilliant books written on the subject. But if you embrace your difference and get people to understand it and understand theirs, then I really do think that's a recipe for success.
Me too. Okay, we're up to our final theme. And our final theme is be independent.
I think you should go first on this, Suzanne.
I fully believe that. I think this is the culmination of everything that we talked about. If you've set your goals, you've negotiated your relationships, you understand what you want to achieve, that gives you all the room in the world to be independent and go out there and get it.
Yeah.
If you're not independent, then you do fall into entitlement. If you're not independent, then you do fall into the role of, woe is me, poor me, why are they doing this to me? Independence, I believe, is the critical key to success for anybody, but especially women in business.
I couldn't put it any better. And I think that independence starts at a very young age. You know, the one thing we were asked a question recently, you know, what advice would you give to your younger self? And I said, no regrets. And I think as we're bringing up the next generation of women and the next generation of girls, it's really important that we impart those ideas, you know, the facilities, if you like, the characteristics of success on the girls so that they understand what it takes. And we encourage a whole new generation. It's very easy at our level in a business for women like us to set themselves up as somehow different, better, that we've somehow come on a journey that is marvelous and wonderful. That's not that at all. For most of us, we've just worked really hard and really smart. And there are no barriers to success for women. There really aren't. But your choices as a woman are so important in making that success. I am not Superwoman, but I've brought up 2 kids. I've been a single mum for some of my life. And I love it. And I think it is there to be loved, even when it's hard.
I agree. And my advice was be independent, because I've always felt that. I always have to be in a position to take care of myself and my girls by myself, because you never know what life is going to throw you.
Absolutely. Often, if you ask a bunch of young guys what they want to be, they'll stand up and they'll tell you. And you ask a bunch of young girls, and they're much more hesitant. I've seen this in education establishments. And I would just say, you know, support each other, get the men around you to support you, and enjoy the ride.
Vanessa, this has been delightful. So talk to you soon.